With 4 million sounds, what will you create? Take the free trial today.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Superbooth Home Edition video. We're joined by Todd. Actually, I'm not entirely sure where you are, but I do know you're from Softube because you've got the logo behind you and everything.
Yeah, I'm right outside of New York City in the US.
Okay, well, I hope things are going all right for you there. And but we're going to take a look at some new stuff that's from Softube, right?
Yeah, definitely. So we were going to start with jumping in with Modular, which is our modular synth workstation. It's really popular because you could get the analog sound quality of modular synthesis in the box. You could also run out to external modules in the hardware worlds and bring them back in. So it's really versatile. But we have some new offerings. And first up is Vermona, which is this top unit here, which is a random rhythm generator. So I could just jump right in if you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I should actually point out that I reviewed Softtube Modular some time ago because it came out a while back, and it's got very high resolution, so you can get right up into audio rates, and you've got all of that good stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's amazing. I don't have the ability to experiment with hardware. I don't have the space or the resources monetarily to do that, but to be able to do it in the box and achieve the same sound and learn about synthesis is just really amazing, just from an educational point and a performance point and just a sonic sound quality point. It's awesome. So yeah, so we have Vermona up here, which is this top unit. And so I'm just going to hit play. We're in Ableton Live here. It doesn't matter what DAW you're in. And there's no sequence. There's no MIDI sequence. Everything is coming from this top unit.
So it's some kind of random clock, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So to break down what's going on, we hear this pattern, and it's actually, as complex as the setup looks, it's really simple. We basically have quarter notes here, 16th notes here, triplets, and then we have a second section here, quarter notes, eighth notes. And you could see each one is going to a different module. So we have a kick module, a clap module, hi-hat, cymbal, and then they're all being mixed into an audio mix with a little saturation on it. So to just break down what's going on here, if I take these sliders and I bring them all the way up, let's bring it all the way up on the kick drum here, and I'm going to bring the others down. And let's see what this does for our sound. So we end up getting a steady kick because our randomness just becomes steady quarter notes. And we could bring something up like our 16ths here.
So it's probability sliders, effectively. Yeah.
Exactly. Now what's cool with this is you have the ability to set whether it's just solid 16th notes or whether it's off the beat. So let's actually take this and bring it off the beat. Listen to what happens. And then you can adjust the sliders as need be right there.
Right. Okay.
You also have the ability to control swing here up on top. So straight in the center at 12 o'clock, it's just going to be straight 16th notes. Or you can make them push or pull. So you have this one section on the left, and then you have a section on the right. So you have these two independent sections, and then you have these dice, which basically will change up the probability of each of these sliders. So what's really cool about this is you could connect it to percussion like I have here. You could connect it to something like an oscillator and just get kind of some random notes out of it. There's a lot of different things you could do with it, but what's cool is just how quickly you could put together these rhythms just by pulling and pushing some sliders. And I'll just quickly do that just to show you. And then we could change them up with the dice.
So it's like it's the probability. Is it something called stochastic probability? I've been learning a little bit about this, but it sounds like something because you have control over the probability, but the actual stuff that you have the probability over, you could just roll away and do whatever you prefer, right?
Yeah, exactly. So basically you have the control of being fully on, fully off, and then this probability in the middle, which could be varied depending on the other settings you have. And then, from there, you just have just so many potentials to just get all these different sounds, rhythmic patterns that maybe you wouldn't have come across in real life if you were just composing, and it's super cool.
I imagine triggering oscillators at specific pitches for sort of big chordal moving sort of note beds into effects would be particularly effective as well, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It doesn't have to be triggering rhythm. It could be triggering oscillators. That's the great thing about modular is modular lets you decide how you want to use each individual module, whether you're triggering a gate, an oscillator, just some sort of quick impulse to trigger a cymbal or something, or if you're going to use it as an effect. You actually have the ability to run modular as an effect processor in a DAW.
Yeah.
So we have modular effects, which is super cool. So
that's plenty of randomization, right? Oh, excellent. Okay. So is that's because the modules, they come out. So you buy this, and this is there's a big shop, isn't there, where you could buy all the modules. Do you know what the price of this is going to be?
I believe I'd have to double check. In US dollars, I think it's $39. It's currently on sale just for our initial release.
All right. Okay. Cool. And so, what else have we got?
Yeah. So you mentioned, modular comes with a few select modules. Specifically, you get the dub-for modules, a bunch of dub-for modules, a bunch of other utility modules to build your own rack, but you can purchase IntelliGel modules or Buchla modules. There's just tons of things. One of the really kind of exciting releases that we have is we just released a MIDI step sequencer, which I just loaded up here. And that MIDI step sequencer is actually free as an upgrade or an update for anybody who owns modular. So you could go in and program by position, the note you want and the direction you want it to move forward, back, tie things over, just like you'd see in a step sequencer from the 1980s or 1990s, like we used to use in the hardware worlds. So that's a free update.
That's monophonic, presumably, right? Single note, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Got you.
So, and then of course you could, because we're in the box with this, do multiple versions and make a polyphonic instrument out of that too. So you could put multiple MIDI step sequencers side by side, run them into a mixer, and so that's the beauty of modular. But yeah, so that's one thing. We also have some other exciting news, which is may not seem exciting at first, but we just updated our preset browser. And the reason why this is so exciting, and it's up here on the top left, the reason why I find this so exciting is that I think one of the best ways to learn about modular synthesis is to open some of the great presets out there and see what some of the masters have done and kind of reverse engineer how to get all these sounds. So for instance, if I wanted to get the sound of a Buchla setup, I could type Buchla and hit enter. And then let's see, Todd Barton, because his name's Todd, so that makes him extra cool, but he's also amazing.
Legendary, yeah. The legendary Todd Barton, absolutely.
But no, Todd is just incredible with what he does. So I could click and look at some Todd Barton presets, and there's a few different views, and I can make my own presets. But let's take one of his. He's got this one here called Wood. And we've now loaded in the land of Buchla, probably thousands and thousands of dollars worth of modules. But we could come on in and change our sounds here. Right, and flip through different timbres. We have the ability to add additional modules. So let's say I wanted to add an additional Buchla module. I could come on up and select the 296E, for instance, which could be used for vocoding or spectral processing. And I could take my sound and instead of going into the Czar reverb, let's go directly in here. And you can see, just like in the real world, you have to patch everything, which just really is such a great learning tool. And now I could actually draw in what frequencies I want triggered here.
And it's true that the Buchla stuff is licensed. I mean, it's sort of it's all legit, kind of in conjunction with kind of stuff, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. This is developed in conjunction with Buchla, and so it's an officially licensed product. But it's super cool. I mean, you could do things like now take your control voltage and run control voltage into the units to modulate some of these parameters. it just gets really deep really quickly. And one of my favorite things about Modular is you have the ability to learn all this and sequence and do all this great work, but in the end, one of my favorite things to do is actually to just simplify it all. So let's come on in and just make this maybe a little bit more usable on stage. I'm going to put 2 wood sides, and I'm gonna bring them down to the bottom, and you'll kind of see in a quick sec where I'm going with all this. And oops, do that. And now I could actually take my Buchla module, bring it down here, bring maybe the reverb, because maybe I want the reverb as part of my performance, and then even add a performance controller. And you can see I'm actually building like my own little Euro rack or Buchla rack down there. So I could then come on in and assign something like a performance controller here and say, okay, I'd like this performance controller to control maybe our low pass gate, right? Maybe I want the resonance and the frequency and amplitude to be controlled by these 2 knobs in a real life performance. So I could go to edit, oops, click on one of these, click on what I want to control, and then adjust these parameters.
Minimum, maximum, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now I have the ability to come on in and use these parameters to control what I assigned it to, which currently with my Bluetooth trackpad, it's not working properly. But then when I'm done, move that down to maybe my performance area down here. And now I could just have kind of my own little rack built here at the bottom. So it's like the architecture of my synthesis is up here. My performance is maybe down here. And we have the ability to just control all these great parameters.
And the other thing is so the performance controls are the ones that can be are easily MIDI assignable, aren't they, as well? So for controlling from parameters, because imagine with a full size rigger there, it's really hard to get to all of those individual. I seem to remember that to begin with, there's not a MIDI learn feature in this. You do it via the performance controls. Is that still correct?
Right. Well, so you could assign these to a MIDI learn here, and then this will give you now tactile control over whatever you decide to assign it to, whether it's a sequencer knob or the resonance or whatever it is you decide to control. So yeah, it's super cool.
So the new stuff is available now. So that Vermona rhythm generator, that's available now, right?
Yeah, that came out a few days ago.
And as with many people, lots of people are doing kind of deals just because of the world situation. And is Softube doing the same sort of thing on some of the modular stuff?
We're currently in the middle of Modular Month, which is which just has tons of discounts all throughout all of our modular products. So definitely check that out. In terms of other deals, one of the things we're trying to do is just give back to the great Softtube community. So we're doing some live stream Facebook events to just teach people about how to use products and answer some questions and just kind of brighten up the spirits of people who maybe have been stuck inside or lost jobs or are trying to figure out how to work from home. So that's kind of our way of trying to give back, is trying to engage people to help work with one another.
Excellent. And so Modular itself comes with a core of certain products. What's Modular as the product what's that cost to begin with?
For €65.
Okay, and that gets you started with, you get a bunch of modules to begin with.
Yeah, when you buy Modular, you primarily will get the Dubfer modules, most of them. So it'll give you everything that you need to get started. That's your VCOs, your low pass filters, a voltage controlled amplifier, and your ADSR, your envelope generator. You have a MIDI to CV controller, so that module will take MIDI notes and actually turn it into a control voltage. But then on top of that, you get tons of other things. You get all your steps, you get all these step sequencers, mixers, all these utility modules that help you create music. You get some of these kind of cosmetic things like wood siding, but then the performance controllers will be there. There's a few other cool things you get, like the saturation knob. And then for people who own things like the Spring Reverb and Tube Delay and the Czar Reverb, or if you own Heartbeat, which is our drum workstation, you get these modules to insert in there too. So, it depends on what other Softtube products you own. Those will load in. Or you have other modules you could purchase, for instance, some of the mutable instruments or the Buchla stuff we're looking at, the IntelliGel modules, which, each one just sounds fabulous.
Great. Thank you very much, Todd. I hope to see you in person, maybe next year in Berlin, if not before.
Hopefully so. Thanks so much for doing this.
You're welcome.